Welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We're here to raise your confidence and inspire your creativity. Each episode, we will have a different guest who will be discussing our Raise word. The Raise word is a word that will encourage you or empower you and at times inspire you to explore the word a little more for yourself. Well, hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We've enjoyed exploring lots of words on the Raise podcast so far. We've looked at creativity and connection, and today we're looking at the word consistency. I'm going to be talking to Elliot Ray, who is someone that I've wanted to talk to for a long time. He's incredibly inspiring with his work. And so without further ado, good morning, Elliot. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. I'm really well. How are you?
Good. I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, I've been a bit up and down, so consistency is an interesting word for today. But yeah, I'm feeling good today. So Elliot, can you tell me first of all what the word consistency means to you?
So I think that's an interesting word, and when you let me know that's going to be the focus of the discussion, I was really happy actually because it's something that I talk about a lot. I try to practice, and I believe is the key to a lot of things in life actually.
Okay.
When it comes to stuff like personal health, relationships, business, like having an idea or having an ideal about how you want to do something is one thing, but the difficulty and the success comes with implementing that every day, and finding ways to be consistent is so important, and I've seen for myself, I've seen people just be consistent over the years. They don't have to be brilliant at what they do or an amazing talent or whatever, but they've just been consistent and they've made it to where they want to get to. So it's so important. It's difficult though. It's a difficult thing to do.
That's really interesting because a lot of people would say success is about being brilliant, but actually what I hear you saying is success, there's a lot of consistency in that, and sometimes being really good and consistent actually brings the brilliance and the success as well. That's really interesting. I'm just but obviously we're all listening on the podcast, but I'm zooming with Elliot and I can see he's got lots of letters in the background and on the door, and I'm assuming that's for your little girl.
That's for me. I'm just learning how to read at the moment.
Is it? Okay, so consistency throughout your life with phonics, whether you're 5 or I'm not gonna
A
hedge
older.
what age you are. 25.
Yeah, but younger.
25. Am I right in thinking, just before we go, did we go to the same school? Was it Twyford that you went to? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, were you in the year below me? I can't remember.
Maybe. Yeah, I couldn't work out how many years below or above, but
Yeah,
I'm
it's
thinking I
weird.
might be a little bit older than you.
At that age, a year or 2 years seems like so much, doesn't it? Like the year below,
Yeah.
they're children. Like I'm 15, you're 14,
Yeah,
you're
not
little to
speaking to
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you get older, you realize 5 years is nothing. We're all adults.
Yeah, and my husband will be very pleased about that because he's 5 years younger than me, although nobody believes that. So
Okay.
that's all good. Elliot, your book, Dad, is incredible. I have to admit, I've not read every single chapter yet, but the bits that I've read so far are amazing. Tell us a little bit. First of all, tell us a little bit about how consistency as a kind of an author and a curator of the book helped you to bring it into being.
Mm. I'm loving this conversation, by the way.
Good.
I'm loving it. It's really, yeah, refreshing angle. And I think so. Consistency in putting the book together. Um, I could probably write a book about curating this book
Okay.
because I think my respect for anyone that writes a book is up there. I think what made it easier with this one is that I wasn't doing all the writing. Obviously, we
Mhm.
had 20 dads, but I think in that 20 dads means 20 conversations at the beginning to talk to the dads and to
Yeah.
build relationships, build trust, 20 pieces of editing that I had to do the first edit of, 20 contracts to sort out, 20
Wow.
very sensitive topics to delve into,
Yeah.
and these are very real life stories. You know,
Mm.
I have to remind myself sometimes as well that these are not fictional characters.
Yeah.
These are not stories that are made up. These are real life human beings, and when they're talking about their family, those family members exist. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
going to meet them one day, hopefully. So
Mm.
the sensitivity that comes along with that, it means consistency of me in terms of my personality and my approach and who I
Yeah.
am. I have to be consistent because building trust with people and asking them to tell you and trust you with some of their darkest and deepest and happiest moments, you need consistency in behavior, you know, for people to trust you to do that.
Yeah.
And then you need consistency and just persistence to keep going and give solve problems every day, look for opportunities every day, and think about how do you move this thing forward every day. 'Cause what I've realized is that, you know, doing running a business or doing a book, it's kind of on you. Like if you don't do something, it's not going to happen. So if you want the book to be released next year, you have to go and find your editor, you have to go and find your book designer, you've got to do all these things yourself. And we self-publish this book as well, which
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
that basically I've learned how to be a publisher, which was never part of the plan.
Amazing.
But learning about ISBN numbers, learning
Yeah.
about wholesalers, getting your book into Waterstones, like these things are, they are kind of, you know, industries in itself. You have teams of people working on these projects. I looked at publishers and I kind of looked at the structure of a publisher and what they have in their organization, and they'll
Mm.
have a team that's an editing team, a rights team, a design team, a promotion team, and said basically I need to create that team myself.
Yeah.
So different people that I could bring in, I could had those expertise, and consistency is at the key, because every day you need to be consistent in making sure you're communicating, you're pushing forward, you're problem solving, and without that consistency you just don't reach your goal. So I think for anyone listening, it's about, of course, having a good idea, being good, you don't have to be brilliant, but being good enough at what you do, practicing your
Yeah. Yeah.
craft,
Yeah.
and consistency is the key. You will get somewhere with consistency. It might take years. If you're consistent for 5 years, it's gonna something's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the way it works, the way life works.
Yeah, what I heard, so you won't know this yet, Elliot, and it's becoming a bit of a thing, but I seem to keep creating words while we're podcasting, and so I hear the words consistency and persistency. So there we go. Persistency,
Persistency.
that's the new word. But that seems to be what you're saying. If you are consistent and persistent, to bring it back into normal words, you're going to get somewhere. But you do have to keep knocking on the doors. You need the right people. And then you said you've got 20 different dads. And as I said, I've skim read some of them, and the topics are incredible. And what you said about them being real people, they are the kind of topics that you see on the silver screen, on the TV all the time. But these are real people. And I think we forget that the stuff that's on TV and on the film, it's got to come from somewhere.
Mm.
It's got to be partly somebody's reality, and yet you, with this book, have brought it fully into reality. And I'm sure those dads, those men and people that you've spoken to, have really gained something from somebody like you saying, "You matter. Let's do this. I'm going to be a little bit persistent, but this is really important." And I, I can't wait to see what kind of results are going to come from the book. It's, as I said, I mean, we were just joking just before we came on air, but I have had you on my radar for a long time because I think you are excellent at what you are doing and promoting that excellence and saying dads are so important. And we know that men's mental health is something that has just gone under the radar for so long. And you are being so brave and courageous and bringing it up there and saying, enough. We need to see how important men are. We need to look at those feelings that they have, and deal with some of those issues that maybe they've been too scared or too nervous to kind of bring to the forefront. It is incredible what you're doing. Talk to me a little bit about what music means to you, because when I was reading your chapter, it came up quite a lot that one of the consistent things in your life has been music. So talk to us a little bit about that, please.
So yeah, music is my first love. There's a there's a story that I used to love. I still love dancing, and we dance around in our living room every day. But when I was
Brilliant.
little, I'm not quite sure how old I was, maybe 5 or 6 or something, and my parents took us to a wedding with my sister, and I loved Michael Jackson. And apparently, I don't remember this, but Billie Jean was playing or something, and
Yeah,
I was that kid that was always like in the middle of the dance floor, just giving it 110%,
brilliant. Yeah,
trying to moonwalk
that's
all the time.
great.
So
Yeah.
apparently I was like dancing and everyone was loving it at the beginning. And then, it just gets a bit awkward where this kid just,
You get him off the dance floor now,
yeah.
please.
And everyone's
Somebody
like,
come and collect the child.
yeah, you had too much Coca-Cola. So they had to like drag me off to the dance floor, and like they talked about it for years afterwards. And I don't remember, I was too young. But for me, music is, I just feel it. I just feel it in my body. I Back in the day, I was a bass player and producer. Me and my wife were in a band together. She's an amazing singer and songwriter, and it's just in me. It's my first passion. I remember buying my first CDs, um, my first vinyls. I got a massive vinyl collection, and I just enjoy music. It just makes me happy, and it is definitely, there's points in my life where I can soundtrack what I was listening to. So
Oh, cool.
last year, the pandemic, for example, there's a song called Burna Boy called Hallelujah,
Yeah,
very spiritual song, and that just got me through lockdown. I played it over and over again. I don't know if you know
yeah.
Spotify, but at the end of the year, they give you a roundup about what songs you listen to, and
Okay.
this song was number one. I've played
Yeah,
it a
yeah.
ridiculous amount of times. But for me, music gives me strength. It's healing. It changes my emotions. If I'm feeling down, it can lift me up. If I'm celebrating, it'll just make me feel better. If I need some motivation, it will motivate me. So I think, for me, it's just life. I love music, and it's so important to me. Even this morning, I was working out, playing music. It just gives me energy. So it's a theme throughout my life. And in my story, I write about some difficult times and traumatic times and stuff. And there were moments of pieces of music that I guess got me through
Mm,
those periods of life.
yeah, yeah. I think we've all got kind of those pieces that you just think, yeah, that was a real kind of turning point for me. I know that The Crown by Stormzy is something that I listen to a lot. Yeah, it just feels like it's really him coming through, and the burden of having that responsibility of speaking to other people in the way
Mm,
um, that he does, and on the platform that he does. Can I just dig a little bit deeper, because you worked with some young people doing music? Just tell us
mm,
about that, because I know that consistency for young people that are maybe struggling with their identity and getting into things that are not good for them, how music can really help that. I just want to dig into that just a little bit more.
So yeah, interesting. I mean, young people, like children, they are children. Um, they need consistency from
Yeah,
adults. That's really important. It's something that I actually value consistency. Like my parents are very consistent, and they
yeah,
always have been,
yeah,
and I really appreciate that. And going to work, what I love in a manager is a consistent manager. Just so I know when I go into work in the morning, I
yeah.
know what mood you're going to be in. I know how you're going to respond to something that I've done wrong or done right. No surprises.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It
that's
brings
important.
security, doesn't it? I
Bring
think
security.
consistency. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think with children and young people, they need that just as much as we do, because, or even more so,
yeah,
because I guess we have a picture of the world, we understand the world to an extent, but they are still learning their way through. And
mm,
there's loads of, when you're growing up and as an adult, there's loads of changing parts. Change is the only thing that's guaranteed.
yeah,
Things happen out of the blue.
yeah,
So with all those changing parts, you do need some kind of consistency in your life to say, okay, this point's here.
yeah,
This is where I know who I am and where I am. This makes sense to me in the world. and then everything else goes around it. And working with the young people that I was working with, their lives were quite disruptive. Like they didn't really have a lot of consistency in their lives. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them were from single parent households. They were from quite rough areas in London. They had a lot of chaos. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of unexpected things. There's a lot of trauma. So as a facilitator, or I wasn't officially a youth worker, but doing that kind of role,
Mm.
it is really important to be consistent for them and show them what it's like to be older and to be a man, and how to conduct yourself, and give them a level of comfortability. They know every time they come into one of your sessions, this is the kind of vibe it's going to be, this is the mood, this is
Yeah.
this is how we're going to behave. That goes so far. And I think with that work that I was doing, it's yeah, that is the deeper level to it, to be honest. The music is probably the the surface level stuff. It's the
Yeah,
way we
yeah. It's a
connect.
product, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's our commonality that we
Yeah,
connect with, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the activity that we're doing. So that is
yeah,
really powerful, because you can connect with everyone through music. And these young children, they wanted to make music, and so I would teach them how to do that, and we were into the same music and lyrics and whatnot. So that's cool. Then the second kind of layer, I guess, is the discussions that we would have.
yeah,
So we would talk around gang violence, around relationships, around all those sort of things, and that's that kind of second layer of connecting. And as you're pointing out, the third layer of connecting is not even said. It's what they are seeing. It's you being a role model. It's them
yeah,
experiencing this inspirational session. It's like,
yeah.
it's not even the things you say always. It's just how you are. It's just
And who
your
you
body
are,
language.
Elliot. I think probably who you are, seeing who you are. And I are you still in contact with any of the young people?
So a few of them, actually, a few of them on Instagram and
Brilliant.
Facebook. Yeah,
They
yeah,
must
yeah.
just be looking at you now thinking, oh my goodness, look at who it was that kind of helped us to keep going, and look what he's doing now. You should be really proud,
Mm.
really proud.
Yeah, I'm proud of them.
Yes.
I'm proud of them as well. Like,
Yeah.
one was an actor in the BBC a few years
Oh,
ago.
brilliant. Okay.
One is, yeah, one's got a child. Like, it's just crazy to think, we're all grown now. They're grown adults
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
When I was doing that work, maybe I was early 20s, they were like, 14, 15. So
yeah, yeah,
now they're grown men. So it's weird how life works.
yeah, yeah.
How brilliant is it to hear from Elliot and all the amazing things that he's doing? If you have a man in your life who you think might enjoy doing something a bit different, do come and chat to me about our singing lessons. Each lesson is bespoke, so we can make sure that the person singing enjoys it and feels that their voice is raised as well as their confidence. Pop me a message on my Facebook page or find me on www.raiseforall, that's a figure 4.com. Back to the episode.
We've talked a lot about consistency in kind of music and how that's important for yourself and for young people. And we've talked about how important consistency is in feeling kind of secure. Tell me a little bit more about your story as a dad, because I was reading that chapter, and honestly, it is so open. I'm sure, well, my phone wasn't wet, but my pillow was. I mean, it's beautiful and hopeful in the most difficult way to start off with. But just tell us a little bit about how consistency has been important in your role as a dad.
Yes, I think so my early story, obviously there was a lot of trauma involved. It was a difficult start, and people
Yeah,
will read the book and find out more about that. I guess in brief, my daughter had an infection called GBS, Group B strep,
yeah,
which is a very common infection. Their mothers carry that infection; it's quite common, but it's quite rare that it's passed on to the baby, especially when there's antibiotics during birth. So we were quite unlucky in that sense. Um, and that led to a traumatic birth, a stay in hospital, and me being diagnosed with PTSD in the first year. And so I think as a parent, just in general, that it's just half term has just finished,
yeah,
and we had lockdown last year,
yeah,
and I think what a lot of us were struggling with as parents was was being consistent on a day-to-day basis when there
Yeah,
is a lot of other stresses going on in life.
yeah,
There was
absolutely.
a lot of stuff going on last
Mm,
year, and parents in general, myself and everyone, has their own different stresses, and so it can become very difficult to kind of put that aside to an extent and be present for your child.
yeah,
And for me, I think consistency and presence is the most difficult thing, because it's like I've got a lot going on in my life, and what I make sure I don't do, and my wife is great, so we'll be up in the evening and she's on her laptop, I'm on my on my laptop.
yeah, yeah.
But what I make sure I don't do is let it go into my role as a dad. So I'm very sure that I ring fence that time. I do drop offs and pickups 4 days a week. Have her on Saturday mornings by myself. We do loads of family stuff, and that time is ring fenced for us
Brilliant.
basically.
Yeah.
And I need to do that.
Mm,
Otherwise, it'll be very easy for me to let all the stuff got going on in my work to just invade in that time.
yeah,
And for me, it's very important that when me and my daughter are together, there is consistency in my behavior and my mood and my level of presence.
yeah,
And that's quite hard to manage for
yeah,
parents, because
yeah,
we've got work, we've got housework to do,
yeah.
got to cook dinner, we've got to
Mm,
do the washing, we've got to remember that it's PE tomorrow. Like, there's got to insure the car. I've got to pay congestion. There's so much to do and to think about,
mm,
that it's very easy to just get caught up in it all, and you forget that spending quality time,
yeah,
with your child on a day-to-day basis, it might just be an hour, half an hour, but spending that quality time is really important. So it's still, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect at all. Um, but I think consistency is important, man. Children need it, especially, we've had a lot of ups and downs this year. My wife's dad died in February on Valentine's Day.
yeah.
So
So sorry. Yeah,
so yeah, it was a really tough time. So a lot of the time
yeah.
she was with her mum, staying at her mum's for quite on and off, like a week there,
Mm,
week back, week there, and week back. So it was just me and my daughter for a lot of time over the last 3 months. And
yeah,
so I've been really, really, I need to give her that consistency, because at the moment her granddad's died and now her mum is going back and forth. So for her, the world has changed a lot.
yeah,
And I think she's looking at me as, you're the parent that I know is going to be here when I wake
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
So there's a bit of pressure actually, but it's like, yeah, just try and be consistent for her. And even though I've been grieving and she's been grieving, just try to be
mm,
strong and trying to be there. So I think, these things happen and life has their challenges. But that's what, I guess, what we sign up for when we become parents, isn't it? To take on that responsibility to be consistent for our children. It's not easy at all, but we do
yeah,
it, and we get the
yeah,
rewards because we love our children. So
yeah, yeah. It's not easy. I mean, most of our listeners will know that I've had long COVID for 15 months, and being consistent when you're consistently ill is
mm,
so difficult.
mm,
And daily, I face the question of, am I good enough? Am I doing well enough? And sometimes I get to the end of the day and I can really honestly say with my hand on my heart, no, don't think I was. Not
mm,
today.
yeah,
And all you can do in the consistency is just say, right, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. But I think it takes a lot of discipline. And um you were talking about all the things that are going on in your head, the insurance, the car tax, things like that. But there's also feelings, all the
hmm,
feelings that are attached with that. So yes, we've got insurance and we've got gym kit and things like that, but then we've got the panic of insurance because really it had to be done a week ago, and all that kind of thing. And the feelings, that's what I find so difficult
hmm,
to you know I'm still working out how you consistently deal with feelings. I think they're the kind of the hardest thing of all.
definitely, man. I think support structures are so important. Having
Yeah,
therapy, having mentors, having friends you can talk to. Like, my wife is a massive support. Like, I couldn't do any of this without her. Not only just because she's very good. I just in idea wise, so I'll just run loads of things by her from
yeah,
ideas. And she's very good at comms and all that sort of stuff. But I know I can talk to her about anything, and she's super consistent in her behavior, and she appreciates that from me too. But yeah, that's one. That's my main outlet. But it is, especially like, in the creative world, when you're doing your own thing, you're building something, like doubt does creep in.
Yeah.
And you do think, oh, am I doing the right thing, or is this going to work? It happens to all of us. It's happened to me yesterday. I was having it, weirdly, with all the great things going on.
Mm,
Yesterday I was having a bit of doubt, and I was like, this I'm not normally like that so much, but
yeah.
I did feel it a little bit, and I was just like,
Yeah.
why? Like, this is so strange. Life is going great, everything's good. But it's just a natural process, right? We're human
Yeah.
beings. Like, I don't think we should try to deny it or pretend it's not going to be there. You hear from the Oprahs, and they have it too. It's just a natural part of the process. So I think it's about just trying to manage it and think about what are the things that help you manage, and how do you just try to do them as often as possible. For me, it's like exercising, it's a bit of meditation, it's going to walk the dog, it's calling my friends, it's talking to my wife, talking to my sister. So just try to do those things as much as possible.
Mm. Yeah, it's having a consistent list of things that you can do in order to manage it, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's interesting what you said about as a creative, because as a creative, I often find that creativity and consistency are kind of in juxtaposition with each other. So I yeah, it's an interesting one, but I think, what you said about it's not the the process of creativity that needs to be consistent. It's the things that you put in place, the management tools, in order to keep it all moving forward. Otherwise, you just create all these things and then nobody ever gets to hear them, do they, or share
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I just want
Mm.
to stop for a minute and just remind people listening just to think about what it is that you need to be consistent in. Do you need to have a list of things that will help you to manage some of your feelings? Can you have a consistent list of maybe 4 or 5 things that you can go to if you're struggling, particularly we've been talking a bit about mental health, particularly mental health. Just have a little think about that at the end of the podcast. Elliot, you have spoken to so many different people recently. So you've got all your dads in the book, and then you've done interviews and things like that. Do you find that you have a kind of a consistent thing that you are always saying? Have you got a consistent message that we need to put across to people as they're listening?
Yeah, I do. Funny enough, I was talking to my other friend who wrote a book, and we are just saying it's so funny how in an interviews you end up repeating yourself all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And what I like about this conversation is that we're having a different kind of conversation. It's
yeah,
really nice, actually. It's a
yeah,
different approach, and I really appreciate it and enjoyed it, actually. But yeah, I think the consistent thing I'm saying is to stay on brand and stay on
yeah,
message.
yeah,
Is that this is a book of 20 dads who are from different backgrounds in terms of race, in terms of different age groups,
yeah,
from all over the UK, different sexualities,
yeah,
different. They're all different.
mm,
They have different stories. We have dads that are black dads that are raising mixed race children. We have dads that have been through a divorce and had serious mental health problems. We've got a dad that's a widower whose partner died during childbirth. We have a dad has had 3 miscarriages, a stay-at-home dad, a dad that was bullied as a new dad at work, a stepdad. We have a range of stories,
yeah,
but what I think is the thread that connects these men is that they have all kind of come together knowing that as dads and as men, the narrative around us and dads now can sometimes be not reflective of the truth.
yeah, yeah,
That dads in general are very present, are very engaged, are very involved, and are very loving, and actually go through a life-changing event themselves when they become fathers.
yeah,
And they've been so open because they understand that we need to change that narrative, but also we need to empower dads as well to know that whatever they're experiencing, they are not alone. There's other people that have experienced the same thing,
yeah,
and they will. We all have to figure out life for ourselves. But these are stories that people can get strength from, they can get guidance from, and it's very cathartic. Just reading something that is similar to your experience gives you strength, it empowers you, it lets you know that you can go on and you'll be okay, and here are some things that someone else did to get through whatever it was. That could be a quite serious thing in life, or it could just be an everyday struggle of parenting and
Yeah.
identity and work-life balance and following your passions, like most of us have. So I'm so proud of this book. I think it's genuinely going to have an impact on the conversation around men's mental health, around the role of dads, around masculinity, and those some quite outdated ideas of what masculine is,
Hmm.
around gender equality. This book is all about gender equality.
Yeah.
It's focused on the men's issues, but with the aim of making the world better for everyone. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
really important point to make.
Yeah.
I was asking in an interview the other day. It really took me aback because the interviewer was like, what do you say to people that say that this is taken away from the women's experience? And I was like, what? I wasn't
Mm.
prepared for the question because
Yeah.
I'm not in
Yeah.
that space whatsoever. I'm
Yeah.
in the space of, if you read the book, you will know that gender equality is one of the key themes throughout the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we are aiming to get there through addressing some of these challenges that men have. I know that might sound counterintuitive to some people, but if we address some of these issues, then
Yeah.
actually it does make the world better for women and for everyone.
Mm.
So it's a powerful book, and when I say powerful, I don't just that's not just a word that just throw out there. These are
Yeah.
actually powerful stories.
Mm.
I don't think I've read a collection of stories that are so vulnerable and so honest anywhere else. And I'm not just saying
Yeah.
that because I want you to buy the book. I genuinely believe that. Like, when people were sending, the dads were sending me the drafts of their stories, I couldn't believe it. Like, I literally could not believe what I was reading. I remember
Yeah.
Danny's story. Danny's son is autistic, and I was outside Tesco. This must have been like late 2019. I'm outside Tesco waiting to go in to buy some stuff, and I'm reading his first draft. I get to the end, I just start crying because I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
first of all, I can't believe you've shared this with me.
Yeah.
And also, just the story is so beautiful. Like, he talks about the struggle and whatnot, but at the end, it's just so beautiful when he's celebrating his son and his guitar, and it's just amazing. It's just
Mm.
amazing. And it yeah, I genuinely think it's going to have such an impact on people's lives, and it's very overwhelming. I don't think I've fully understood the magnitude of what it is yet, because I've just been on kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
emotional mode.
Automatic. Yeah. Of
Yes,
course.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
sat back and thought, wow, like,
Yeah.
this is what it is. But yeah, I feel so honored. I feel like, I write in my acknowledgements, genuinely feel like God has used me as a vessel to put this
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. This
Yeah.
is beyond, for some reason he's chosen me to put this together, but
Yeah.
this is beyond what I am capable of as this one human being. This is God using me and saying, look, Elliot, this is your purpose for whatever reason.
Come on.
so
Yeah.
um
Absolutely. Yeah.
so yeah, that's yeah, glory to God for this, man, definitely. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, go and buy the book.
Brilliant.
Go to www.wearedad.co.uk, and there's links to Waterstones, to Amazon, to W.H. Smith, and to some local bookshops as well. So support your local bookshops. I should say that too.
Brilliant. Can I say, as a mum, thank you for this book. I think it's really, really important. I think it's massively long overdue. But as you said, if God was waiting for the right person to write it and put it all together, well, then it needed to wait until now. So I'm getting emotional. I do this all the time. People are so used to me getting emotional on the podcast. So in order to stop the emotion, I'm now going to read you out a poem that I've written, because that's not going to be emotional in any way. But we'll just get all the emotional bit out of the way. Now, Elliot, I have to be honest with you. Normally, I write it on the cuff, but having read your story and knowing how important it was to craft it a little bit, I wrote it last night. So sorry, but I hope it's still okay.
Amazing. Great.
Okay. What is a dad? A dad is a man or a person, a being, another who can show they feel, and they think that and they doubt and they cry. They're strong for us, yes, but they still question why they are misunderstood or seen as no good. Sure, mistakes are made, plans waylaid, but maybe we could talk of football or music or just fatherhood and connect as we should.
Amazing. This
Thank
has
you.
been great, you know. This has been
I've
so cool.
really loved it. I'm glad
This has
it
been
was worth the wait.
this has been great, man. I think this is my favorite thing. This is my favorite podcast I've done or interview. This is amazing.
Oh, cheers,
Such a
Elliot.
good
Well,
vibe. I've loved it.
stick us a little review on, or just send me it in a
Yeah, I
message.
will.
So, because very much, this is about raising confidence and inspiring creativity. And I want our guest to feel as loved and encouraged and supported as the listeners. Absolutely. It's, and so, I actually really prayed that you'd feel really encouraged. So I hope that you have, but what you're doing is brilliant.
Yeah.
Stay brilliant.
I have, because sometimes you do interviews that just like generic questions and you think this
Yeah.
person doesn't, no, they don't care, they just haven't prepared and they just want to like do it. Whereas you really made me feel like special, and you've obviously got tailored thought really deeply about the conversation, and even written a poem, and just the approach of the angle I think is definitely refreshing. So we'll be sharing it far and wide and making sure it goes out to our community. I think it's an important listen. So thank you so much for having me.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Elliot. Keep doing what you're doing, and take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
A final thought from Seb.
Some dads buy socks even when they don't need them. Some dads buy books and then never read them. Some dads make a nice cup of coffee. Some dads go to Liverpool and eat all the toffees. Some dads play Forza and sadly get beaten. Some dads buy bagels but they secretly get eaten. Some dads hope their sons will make them feel loved, but my dad is brilliant and does all of the above.
Thank you for listening to the Raise podcast. We hope you feel raised and inspired by this episode. Whilst we're not offering face-to-face classes currently, we are doing online singing lessons where you can have your voice raised as well as your confidence. If you would like to find out more, please visit our website at www.raiseforall.com or find us on social media on either our Facebook or Instagram page. Take care.